Okay.
All right, I'm gonna call order the town board meeting at the Town of Lisbon Town Hall on Monday, September 12th, 2022 at 6:32 PM. Roll call, please.
Chairman Osterman.
Here.
Supervisor Moonen.
Here.
Supervisor Beal. Supervisor Quinn. Here. Supervisor Plotecker. Here. Administrator Nicholas. Here. And Clerk Capazzo to record the minutes.
Thank you. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence, please. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Item 3 is comments from citizens present. Do we have anybody here who wishes to speak tonight? Anyone on Zoom?
No one on Zoom.
All right. Item 4 is the consent agenda. Items listed under the consent agenda are considered in one motion unless a board member requests that an item be removed. We have the August 22nd, 2022 town board minutes, letter of credit elimination for Hillside Ridge Phase 1, letter of credit elimination for Harvest Ridge Phase 2, and letter of credit reduction for Hillside Ridge Phase 2 in the amount of $63,325. Any questions or comments, or is there a motion on the consent agenda?
Make a motion to approve it.
Moved to approve by Mark Moonen. Is there a second? Second by Linda Beal. Any final discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item 5, accounts payable, authorizing the payment of the Falls Auto Parts bill in the amount of $966.90. Any questions or comments, or is there a motion on that item?
Motion to authorize payment of auto bill, parts billing of $966.90.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved by Linda, second by Paula. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Item B, authorizing the payment of the remaining bills in the amount of $393,467.93.
We have super excavators for $167,473.45. Premier Building Inspections for $32,255.11. Kunkel Engineering for $27,594.10. US Bank Corp Payment Systems, $10,594.05. And Rural Mutual Insurance, $10,146.50. I ask for your approval.
Any questions or comments, or is there a motion on the check register?
That bill for Super X came in lower than what we
It did.
approved.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I second.
Moved by Mark, second by Linda. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item 6, announcements and correspondence. We have the Parks Committee meeting Monday, the 19th at 6:30 at the Richard Young Fire Station. Sanitary Sewer District Number 1 Commission meeting on the 21st here at the Town Hall at 6:30. And we have a town board meeting again on the 26th at 6:30 at the Town Hall. And we have a joint public hearing and plan commission meeting on Thursday, October 6th at 6:30 at the Richard Young Fire Station. Anyone have anything else to add for announcements or correspondence? All right, item 7, administrator report.
All right, so you know that I was gone a week in here, but I do have a few things to report on. We did our 2022 Moody call, and their credit opinion moved us up from to an AA2 from a AA3. That was good news for our borrowing power. We did bid opening for the salt shed. That was done on Friday. The lumber only came in at $234,100, which you'll see on the next agenda, the 26th agenda. Next week, we have a pre-construction meeting for Leeds Lane. The CSM for the last parcels in Lisbon Business Park East passed the Plan Commission and is scheduled to be at the Menominee Falls Plan Commission for approval on 10/11. Sanitary District Utility Module, which goes with our civic system. The cost of that came in at $15,800. That includes the training. It's a one-time cost. And then that will be placed in the sanitary district, the 2023 sanitary district budget. The Quick Trip is doing their due diligence work this week. They'll be doing some drilling at the parcel. So be aware of that. Application meeting with Quick Trip is set for October 6th, so we should see that possibly on the November Plan Commission agenda. We have started budget work. Evals will be completed next week to prepare for a budget workshop on 9/26. We're having a staff meeting on Wednesday concerning the sanitary district and another staff meeting with Newman for the Alpine Hills subdivision by Osplek. And then on Thursday, we have a staff meeting with Pizza Ranch to finalize their application. And I did reach out to Sussex for their discussion on variance and the probability and process they'd like us to take. So we'll have something to discuss with Pizza Ranch on Thursday. That's my report. Sorry, it's not typed up.
Any questions for Kathy?
Yes, at the sanitary district meeting, we talked about that bill, and it was not determined that the district was going to be paid. We didn't vote.
Right. It's just, it was being placed in the draft budget. Correct. That's the $15,800 for the module.
What I'm paying now.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Thank you, Kathy.
Mhm.
Incorporation update.
We received a letter from the courts on Friday that said that we weren't processing our incorporation fast enough. So they were closing our court date. So Stan got on right away and got something in writing, so then they understood what the statute says, that we've got everything in and we're just waiting for the state to come back. So we expect that to their determination to the court to keep us open until the state gets their determination. They
not
just
their
didn't
first-
understand, the incorporation process. They didn't look in the statute. They just had, these are all the open cases, and they've just been sitting there and nothing's been being done to them. So then they said, just close them all. They sent us a letter closing ours, and we had 20 days to respond, and we're like, wait.
Somebody new over there?
So they don't do a lot of incorporation documents, so. So that's been corrected, but that's the only thing I have. We do have, next week, we have the IRB board is going to have their meeting, and so it'll be interesting to hear what their questions might be for us during that time.
That's a Zoom.
That's a Zoom meeting.
When is that one?
I believe it's the 26th. I'll look it up. It's just the IRB board, so. So it's the 21st. Zoom meeting on the 21st.
All right, any questions or comments on the corporation update? The Lisbon Economic Conditions Update.
I don't have anything, but I did want to say about ARPA, I was going to get you a form, a spreadsheet every meeting, and I just realized I didn't put that on your desk today. So I can email you that out so you know where you're at, but I just didn't get it.
Fine, thank you.
Mhm.
All right. Anything from anyone else?
Mm-mm.
Right, item 10 supervisor reports.
I have nothing until after next week's meeting.
Anything
at
from anyone
next
else?
month's. Mhm.
Anything? Nope. Item 11, unfinished business. A, discussion and necessary action regarding updated TID 1 financing options for final infrastructure. John.
Good evening, everybody. John Cameron with Ellers, and before I dive into the TID stuff, just want to give you all kudos for the upgrade with Moody's. That really is a reflection of good financial management and performance. And being at a AA2 status really starts to put you in some more elite company, as there really are, that's 2 notches below a AAA status, and there's only a handful of AAA communities across the state of Wisconsin. More counties, but fewer municipalities themselves. So that puts you in good standing and really is a reflection of the positive trends over the last couple of years at the town. So congratulations very much. As an update, since the last time I was in front of you regarding the possible TID borrowing, we did get all the different development agreements and send them off to Quarles and Brady, which is the town's bond counsel, for review as part of potential financing. And as they went through them with the pilot payments that exist, which are really a very positive thing for the town and a positive thing for the tax increment district, because there is the likelihood based on the timing of construction compared to the first year of the pilot payment in the intergovernmental, but in the development agreements, the debt would need to be taken out on a taxable versus a tax exempt basis for at least the short-term period of time when the town would be exercising the pilot payment, which we anticipate would be in 2024. Once that those buildings are built and online, we do not anticipate in those development agreements that the pilot payment would be needed anymore. It still would be part of the agreement and exercised if conditions weren't met. So Coral's determination was, at least in the interim, you would need to finance the projects if you would issue debt on a taxable basis. Once you were done with the pilot payment, you could refinance that debt with tax exempt debt. So as we see it, really, there are 2 options that we've got in your packet for consideration. One would be the issuance of a 5-year state trust fund loan through the Board of Commissioners of Public Lands. That's the financing mechanism that the town used a few years ago for the original purchasing of the lead site. That is considered taxable in nature, comes with a 4.5% interest rate. You could structure the debt for 5 years with a balloon payment at the end and refinance that with tax exempt debt after. The second option, and I think maybe the one that might merit a little bit more consideration here, would be the use of internal fund balance. Don't borrow at all. Use your internal fund balance and use that as an advance to the tax increment district, and use the tax increment revenue as it comes in, as you first pay the existing debt within the TID, and then pay yourself back, pay the general fund back with tax increment revenue over time. Both options are very viable options for the town. Right now, at the end of 2021, and this is all fresh because we just went through this with the surveillance call with Moody's and talked about this as a possibility. In the 2021 audit for the town, you have an unassigned fund balance of about $4.45 million, which represents 68% of your general fund revenues. If you were to use about 2.1 million of that for the TID related expenses, that would put you down at approximately 34% of your 2021 audited revenues, which would still put you in the AAA category as Moody looks at it within their rating scorecard. So one of the factors that Moody's will look at, and one of the most heavily rated factors, is your fund balance. So if you were to draw your fund balance down and draw it down, say below that 30% level, that starts to at least raise some red flags with Moody's. You were just upgraded for a very healthy fund balance, but this would still put you in a position where you'd be in a AAA status. So I think barring any other major use of fund balance or competing use of fund balance, this may be a viable option for the town to consider. You can choose to assign an interest rate on the advance if you want within the tax increment district. No, I know interest rates were, practically nothing for investment purposes, but obviously that's changed. So, you could look at what the LGIP is, you could look at where your investments are in your other funds and assign an interest rate, something, that's comparable there. You certainly want to, earn something on your money, but you also don't want to do it at the expense of, the health of the tax increment district either. So those really are the two options. Both, would produce a TID closure date right around 2000, either 36 if you're not charging any interest on the advance. If you charge interest, it might bump that out to 2037 or 2037. The last item I had in the packet was just a comparison showing tax exempt versus taxable debt. So you might be saying, well, why wouldn't we consider just going straight to the market for the issuance of taxable promissory notes? And, that's certainly an option for the town, but quite honestly, I think these other two options are better, given where taxable interest rates are out in the open market. So taxable interest rates follow the treasury more closely than tax exempt rates do. And so you can see just kind of a side-by-side debt comparison, over a 10-year period. We have tax exempt, current tax exempt rates, you'd be looking at interest expense of about $550,000. At taxable rates over the same 10-year period, same borrowing size, you'd be looking at almost $800,000. So well over a $200,000 difference in terms of taxable versus tax exempt interest rates. So again, I think you've got better options on hand in terms of either use of internal fund balance or taking out a shorter term state trust fund loan, allowing the pilot payments in the buildings to work themselves out, go through the incorporation process as well, and refinance at that time. So I know that's kind of a lot to go through. Questions?
Questions from the board? Paula?
Would there be any downside to bringing that fund balance down if there was any kind of an emergency? For us, I'm just wondering, I don't, just a thought on
I
that.
guess it depends what the emergency is.
Well, could be any-
If we lose a building, it's insurance, vehicles insurance. I guess it'd have to be some kind of major expenditure that's not covered.
Mhm.
Yeah, it still puts you at, roughly 34-35% of your expenditures, which when, Moody's would look at you from a rating standpoint, they would still consider that to be a healthy fund balance. So you'd still have money in contingency for emergencies if that would come up. And like the chairman said, I mean, I think ideally, if that comes up, you're maybe using that on a short-term basis and then waiting for your insurance type, reimbursement or something of that nature.
Okay, thank you.
The other thing to think about is the fact that we're going to be bringing in some money on our sale of some land. And with that money, we could either pay off a loan, and we spoke about that, is maybe keeping the loan at the interest rate, the lower interest rate that we have it at, and just put that money in the bank, maybe to pay this bond.
Right, and that would be another source outside of your unassigned fund balance that you could consider
We don't
using
have
as
that
well.
now,
So
so we're
you could look at a combination of those two. Because right now that existing state trust fund loan for the Leeds purchase is at a little less than 4%. So, it doesn't necessarily make sense to take out a loan at a higher interest rate if we've got, that cash to be able to use at a lower rate. So,
That's gonna be close to 1.5, so
So really, we'd only be using,
not much of a.
yeah,
So it's a nice
600 to
cushion.
700,000 of fund
Yeah.
balance.
That makes me feel better.
So.
I have no questions.
Mark?
I have two, one's partially answered. I'll start with the one that's not. Is there any legal implications as far as status of town versus village that would make it harder or easier for us to borrow now versus in 2022?
no, not under this type of scenario. No.
Secondly, if we have to borrow in 2023, and that we kind of talked on already, but will the drawdown affect the rating enough that it would give us a lot different ratings?
No, we talked specifically about that with Moody's during the surveillance call as a possibility. And noted that even if we were to draw 2.1 million down out of just pure unassigned fund balance, so not even what, the Leeds, property, that fund. That would still put you at a healthy fund balance, would still have you and their scorecard for your fund balance portion of the rating at a AAA level. So as I look at it, that still is, as high as we can go. So that still keeps you in good standing.
Becky?
John, I don't know if I was there or not, but what did you say about paying ourselves back?
So you can, if you're to use fund balance, you could pay yourselves back through the tax increment of the districts. And that's one of the cash flow analysis that were included in your packet. So you could advance money from your unassigned fund balance to the tax increment district to do the project. So the project, would flow through the TID, and the TID as increment is collected. You're paying, you've got general obligation promissory notes that were issued in 2021. You're paying that debt. And then secondarily, you're paying yourself back. Sure.
We can decide on the interest that we want to charge the TID to pay us back.
Right.
Looking at LGIP or.
Yeah, or if you've got a CDE or something else that's out there that, you might want to look at from a comparison standpoint, you could do that as well, but LGIP would be a good starting spot.
So hearing all that information, I guess the next question is which way is everybody leaning?
I guess I'll start off. I guess some people always ask us why we keep a high fund balance when we don't have to. I think this is a perfect example of where conservative fiscal responsibility shows to be favorable to us. We have an additional option that other communities don't, and we can essentially short-term self-fund our projects, which is, I think, a kudos to all of us in the room. So I think I made my opinion clear. I'd rather do the short-term option of self-funding.
I agree. I think it's a responsible thing to do.
Yep.
For the town.
Becky?
I don't normally like to see the fund balance used for anything, but, I think that, that in this case, it's probably the wisest thing to do, so. So I'm okay with it.
Being at the end of the day, we're probably only going to be decreasing fund balance by around, it's if we're getting 1.5, and we're only really decreasing it by $600,000 at the end of the day.
Mhm,
And then we'll get the entire amount refunded potentially by a refinancing bond.
mhm.
Then
So-
the other question would be, how would you like us, do you want to borrow the money to TID without interest? Or do you want to borrow the money to TID with interest? And how would you like that amount of interest decided? Do you want us to go to?
That isn't something we
Okay.
necessarily have to decide tonight, though, is it?
No, but we could gather the information that you want us, would you like us, I can talk to the treasurer and we can possibly gather interest information for us for next meeting.
Mhm,
Would you like that?
mhm.
Okay. And then once the pilot payments ended, we could actually refund it through non-taxable at that point.
You could, if you're contemplating that, I'd still have you do a reimbursement resolution, just in case there is a sunset provision in that. I mean, I think it is 18 months from the date of the expenditure. So, you'd have to either look at doing something in that kind of period of time. Or let's see if we can talk to Corals about, if we did it for 18 months, could we extend it a little bit further? The possibility, though, would be, worst case would be if you did, you got into a pinch and you did need to refinance, you do it on a taxable basis. And if interest rates do start to come back down, that might certainly be more favorable than what we're looking at right now. So, and again, it's not that interest rates are unfavorable. They're not in the grand scheme of things. It's
We're
obviously.
just spoiled.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, the days of the 1% are at least temporarily gone.
So, which actually is something else to look at because we're gonna spend fund balance, but we would be actually making money if the money was in investments.
Mhm.
So I would say whatever the percentage we're gonna get needs to reflect some of that.
Mhm. Okay,
Okay. I guess I'd be looking I would like to know how long we can go on. It's 18 months or longer. And we'll have to get that resolution set for the next
Sure.
meeting.
perfect.
Sounds good.
Okay. Any other questions?
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too.
Item B is discussion and necessary action regarding lease of 2 flock cameras.
So in your packet, we have, I gave you some of the same information you had before, but we also got a document from, that gave us some outcomes, which is what I understand you asked for at the last meeting. So the second page gives you some outcomes for the flock. Just a reminder that this is an annual cost. The lease would be $5,000 each year. What's would be put in the 2023 budget if you so to move forward on it.
So after the last meeting, I made contact with Menominee Falls as well as Germantown, being that those are the 2 bordering communities that currently use flock. I compiled all that information and provided it to Captain Panis, who drafted this. It's broken down into Menominee Falls and Germantown. This is a good overview of the information that they gave me. If you have any more specific questions, I can try to answer them, but pretty much everything is.
And again, we talked last time about we're the only one, Sussex is doing it, Menominee Falls, Germantown, but nothing out this way.
I actually just talked to the Village of Merton at their last board meeting, and we're in the process of putting a proposal together for them as well now.
For
So
Merton.
they're gonna be looking at 2. And then I haven't been in touch with any other agencies in this area. Farther west of here,
Mhm.
as of yet.
Questions from the board? Let's just start Becky, Paula. Mark?
We have the option to approve it as an operational cost in the budget, or we're looking just to approve it as a outline.
It can be operational. As it is, it's going to be an annual. And I don't believe it requires a commitment of like 5 years. I think we can lease it for a year and see what our outcomes are and make another decision during the next budget time if we want to continue on.
This is 2 extra deputies for $2,500 each.
So
Yeah, and then I
that's-
think one of the things from Menominee Falls that stands out to me is the fact that they had so many successful hits that they could not track them all. So they dropped what they're tracking to only track certain felonies because their numbers were so huge. They now present their results, to their village board quarterly, and they only go to tracking certain felonies. So that's what you'll see listed on here. There's gonna be some of the bigger cases that they've had. The example of burglaries in which $40,000 worth of property were taken. They were able to solve that one. Multiple vehicles stolen. Subject with a firearm at a gas station. Couple of vehicle homicides out of Milwaukee. Bunch of stolen cars just in the Falls. And then in Germantown, they gave me from the date I asked 1 year prior. So this is from August of 2021. They've had, again, on a lot of the serious crimes, 38 stolen vehicles and plates recovered. A purse snatching, sorry, I can't talk tonight. Suspect that was apprehended, 3 missing parties who were located.
That one right there is the big one. I mean, that's, to me, it's, the 2 girls I just seen in the news today are missing again.
Yeah, like you said, that's basically a 24-hour, never blink set of eyes.
I mean, property is one thing. Don't get me wrong, you want to catch people who do that, but kids go missing, that's,
Do you think these numbers are up there because they brought them in Milwaukee?
I think that does add into it. Part of it, I think, is the density of traffic on the roads that they've picked to put these cameras on. You look at them having cameras on Appleton Avenue and County Line Road, those are very busy roads, but County Line Road continues on into your town. Highway 164 is a very major intersection that I would say probably, I haven't seen traffic counts on either one, but probably rivals what Appleton Avenue has for traffic flow. So I think part of it's location and part of it's just traffic density.
Have you spoken with Slinger and Hartford as well, to the north?
I have not checked with either of those. I just did border communities.
Is, how difficult is it to move the camera? Once we get the camera up, we say we find we're having some difficulties in another area. How difficult is it to move it to another location?
I'm not sure how that process works. As part of the initial setup cost, they are installed by block contractors. So we aren't the ones putting them up. They are professionally installed by their people. I'm not sure how their contracts are written. I know when City of Waukesha and Menominee Falls got their initial contract, they had I think it was 90-day trial window where they put up double or triple the number of cameras that they were interested in, put them up for that trial period. At the end of that, they said, pick your favorite location, then we'll take the rest back down.
Be good. So we're back to that part. Looking for opinions from the board.
I guess I'm riding a fence. Just because, you know, I know it's probably like the missing persons bothers me as well, but I just don't know yet, you know, again, I'm riding a fence on this one. It seems expensive, but you can't put a price on human life, but you know, $5,000 a year is a lot of money.
We spent $5,000 a year on a lot
That's
of
true.
things that are nowhere near as worthy as this, so,
That's true.
in my opinion, but
That's true.
I get what you're saying. You don't want to just spend money to spend money, but
Mhm. I'd feel more comfortable if there were people out this way, would get some too. I guess that's it. Because, you know,
we can get 4 of them.
pardon me?
Or you mean other communities?
Mhm.
But you gotta start it somewhere.
Yeah, I know, but if they're gonna do it, I mean, then I would really appreciate it if they would go out and get more neighbors, so we can all be protected instead of just us protecting everybody else.
This
Have-
is an emerging technology, which is only gonna get better, I think.
Yeah,
So
I-
then with these cameras, as technology improves, we technically should just be getting those better cameras.
Yes, because the cameras are leased, they're not
Right.
owned. So as things upgrade, if something breaks, they come out and cover that replacement.
yeah, well, I
Sure.
just think it's awfully expensive.
And we are slowly working on trying to move this
I know.
west. The farthest west community that I assist in supervising is the Village of Merton. And I just spoke with them at their last village board meeting. And we talked about cameras in the area, and we actually have a proposal that will be going up to them for either their next meeting or the first of the next month.
What about
If they-
Sussex?
Sussex, it sounds like Captain Panis is actually in a budget meeting with Sussex tonight right now. Sounds like they're looking at 2 for sure, and then possibly going up to.
So is everybody waiting for everybody else to do it?
Well, Sussex is basically waiting for budget time, I think.
Yeah.
So that'll likely be in, if not by the end of this year, very early next year. Village of Merton, we are doing their budget meetings for next year in the next upcoming months. And with the process of how this goes about with that 60 or 90-day trial window, depending what we can talk them into. If we get something approved for next year, we'll be able to get install dates hopefully sooner rather than later.
So we could approve something on a trial basis.
I'm not sure exactly how the contracts are written on the tentative. I know we have signed a tentative memorandum of understanding with them where we have access to their system on a trial basis where our detectives have access to these hits. And it's been used where we're looking for a stolen car and we can check the flock hits in Menominee Falls and in Milwaukee and in Waukesha and all these surrounding communities. So we are working on that trial basis of us using it for that investigative technique. I just don't know how that works on a cameras installed basis.
Becky?
I just think it's an awful lot of money, and it's not just a one-time charge, it's an every year charge.
It is.
I just don't know. I suppose if you save one life, it's worth it, but and I don't know, where do you think you would put them? Like on 164 and Q or just 164 somewhere?
That'd be something that we'd have to talk about moving forward, but my initial thought is Highway 164 at that Highway Q intersection. Whether it's north-south on 164 or east-west on Q, that's a very major intersection. And the other major intersection that we were talking about are off Town Line and some of the other major cross streets, whether it's Lisbon, Good Hope, Silver Spring, Main Street, any of those major east-west roads that have high traffic flow.
We have one officer. We have one officer,
At night.
24/7. No,
Oh,
period.
all, yeah.
One shift.
Mhm.
We have over 100 miles of road now. I mean, just to drive around Lisbon. 6, 6, 6, 6,
Mhm.
24 and 6. That's
Yeah, our-
24 miles just to drive around the perimeter of Lisbon.
Our third shift deputy puts on an average of over 100 miles a night patrolling the town.
And they're driving, I mean, they're patrolling, they're just looking for things. If this thing goes off, they can be directed. I mean, granted, Sussex has got more officers, but that's their officers. I mean, they will respond in Lisbon, but we have one person patrolling and my biggest thing was the Big Brother thing, but I do feel comfortable with what I've been told on that. I mean, sheriff's contract is what this year, 700 and almost 800,000.
Mhm.
And this is 5,000.
I
I mean,
know.
it's a decimal point for what we're paying for that entire contract.
Mhm.
I am in favor on this one. I mean, if we get it for a year and it doesn't work, always cancel it. We didn't buy equipment.
Right.
We bought a lease.
I guess,
essentially.
I could for a year to try it and see what happens. I don't like the idea of 5,000, but it is what it is.
Yeah,
And try it and see, we can reevaluate.
I agree. I think if it comes back in a year and it didn't do anything for us, why spend the money? But I tell you, these kids that are getting taken on a regular basis. I mean, you see social media more and more these days where somebody's walking down the street and they just nab them,
Mhm,
and now they're gone.
mhm.
If all the communities start getting these things, you can track where that car went.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If everyone would kind of go into it, it'd be a lot better, but I understand.
This just gotta start somewhere. And
Even like Richfield, or something.
or if we have these things and it just tells the creeps, stay out.
Yeah.
Sussex has got them, Lisbon's got them, Merton's got them. Guess what? We're watching you. Stay the hell out of here.
Mhm.
We will find you. We will catch you.
And that's one thing I think that, not saying that you're on the cutting edge of this wave coming through, with how many communities in this area already have them and have gotten them in the last 2 years. I think it is starting to sweep through this area pretty heavily.
They'll
where-
figure it out too.
Yeah,
I mean, if it did work, I'd say get more in the future and advertise it. We have these. We will find you.
and this is something that if you do decide to do a year, and you can let us know how you want, if you want us to report back monthly, quarterly, at the 6-month mark of success stories of how it's been helping our investigations, whatever you guys would want, we could also coordinate that.
It could be easily put in your monthly report from
Sure.
Captain. You get something.
Mark, anything to?
No, I mean, I've said it the last few times we discussed this.
And you see it in your job.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you an example. Say you have a silver alert for a missing elderly person. Lieutenant Farrell says he's gonna put a camera at 164 and K. Essentially, that camera for 24 hours a day is gonna find maybe a gray car matching the description or the plate that is on the missing silver alert. You would essentially have to have an officer positioned there 24 hours a day, which is impractical and impossible mostly, to do the same thing. And I mean, if you break down the cost analysis, this is a way cheaper
Mhm.
tool. And I mean, I think you have to look at it outside of just Lisbon, we gotta be part of an area solution, a southeast Wisconsin solution. And, I mean, Milwaukee's doing it, Milwaukee County Sheriff's doing it, all the parks, Waukesha's doing it. So I think it's a no-brainer. It is tax dollars that we're using, but I think they're well purposed.
So if we, I mean, so Sussex is potentially doing 4 of these, we're doing 2. And let's say this thing is successful and we did bump it up. I mean, to the point where we have 8 of these cameras, I mean, between Sussex and Lisbon working in conjunction where they are, I mean. I guess how much of it, would that be a good number to cover the entire community at that point? I mean, I'd love to work with Sussex on this.
That'd be something we'd have to look at, taking that overall map. If you think of the village of Menominee Falls roughly being the same size of Sussex and Lisbon combined, they currently have 15 cameras.
Mhm.
Germantown is slightly smaller. They are currently at 6, installing more with the goal of being up to 10 by the end of this calendar year. So that 8 number isn't unreasonable. And like you said, if we do keep pushing this west and the village of Merton does include 2 more, something similar to that, that number in this area can increase.
And it's not just gonna be, public service that's gonna drive this program. A huge part about FLAC is that they're supported by the private HOAs, the private, communities. It's not just public servants that are using it. You know, I mean, if Coles wanted to, they could put up a FLAC camera and be part of the solution. Yes, they're not gonna get the ability to search law enforcement data, but they're still providing the camera on their site for the network of authorized users to look at the information.
Who would pitch something like this to HOAs? I mean, because we
Um,
have HOAs in the town of Lisbon.
That'd be something that we could put together if you're interested. I have already put one together for a different HOA in Lannon. And then private businesses, as was spoken about, Quad Graphics has already approached us about sponsoring a camera. We have contact information that we're in the process of reaching out to Pick and Save Now Metro Market. And then Meyer has sponsored cameras in different stores. I don't remember what state it is. I want to say it's New Jersey, but FLAC's biggest customer in that state is Walmart, where they have them at pretty much every single store in their parking lots, catching every license plate of the cars coming and going for when they have retail thefts. So that private public partnerships are huge in this process.
The more that a community, like you say, Menominee Falls, just curious, the more you buy, does the cost go down?
I am not sure about that. I haven't seen the contract for the number of wells.
No, okay. Had to ask.
Did Menominee Falls start with 15 cameras or did they get up to that number?
I'm not sure. The only one I talked to about quantity of cameras and their increase was Germantown. And they said that with the 6 they have, they determined that they were so successful that that wasn't enough, that they're going up to 10 by the end of the year. I didn't ask the fall specifically their timeline of how they got to 15.
And so what you're talking about is our border roads with generally with our municipal areas. Are there any interior roads that would be worthwhile to do it or
If
no?
we determine that there's interior roads, one of the things that we talked about on a very initial basis was if we do that public-private partnership in Sussex, there's the industrial park off of Corporate Drive, if you know where Meyer is, just north of there, off like Corporate and Executive. That entire industrial park only has 3 entrances. And with stolen catalytic converters and entry to autos and stuff like that that have happened in that area, there's been talks about getting that whole business association together to fund 3 cameras covering
I was gonna say,
all 3 entrances and exits.
that's
So that
all
would be more like
Sussex.
internal, yeah. So I haven't looked at specific areas within the town of Lisbon for either hotspots or businesses that would be willing to sponsor it. I'm just aware of, Quad is the big one that has reached out to us about wanting to do it.
And I would bet you, I mean, we'd have to have community, like if the community buys in, we buy into this. The board level. And then we go to our, say we pitch it to some of the HOAs, I mean, we are not a poor community, we're just not. We might be on the cheaper end, but we're not poor.
I mean, you look at FLAC's website, law enforcement is even the #1 listing thing on their who we serve page. Neighborhoods, subdivisions, HOAs, law enforcement, small town to big city, businesses, residential real estate improvement districts, education, builders, and there's a lot of different clients that they have on there.
Like the chairman said, the biggest thing is with the sheer square footage within the town of Lisbon and our patrol coverage being 1 deputy 24 hours a day. This is a set of eyes that never blinks.
Are you aware of like, let's say some of these communities, like a subdivision with an HOA puts these flat cameras, let's say you put 2 of them in. If it has any effect on their insurance?
I haven't heard anything about insurance. A couple of the success stories I've read on their website have been like almost 100% drop in crime in their communities. I haven't heard anything
I
specific.
mean, if you have 50 home subdivision, you put 2 flock cameras in, that's not even $9 a month. On an HOA fee.
Mhm.
Do they have like signs they post to say like this community is protected by or something along that line?
I haven't seen any, but all of the ones I have seen, just driving around looking for them, have been on larger roads or businesses.
So for every camera you get one sign that says it's protected by flock. If you want an additional sign, it's $30.
Well. Any other discussion on this? Make the motion to approve 2 flock cameras for the town of Lisbon for 2023.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. I would be interested in trying to pitch this to HOAs.
And then as of now, I'll start with monthly reports as well. So once we get this up and rolling, I'll talk to Captain about monthly reports. We'll start with everything, and then if there's certain things you're like, you don't care about how many of certain things you find, we'll go with that. One other thing, as long as I'm up here, the radar box that we had talked about a couple meetings ago, you approved it on 8/8 of 22. Tentatively that the quote doesn't go over $9,200. We got the final quote in with the extra batteries to run nonstop, and the quote came in at $9,148. So it will be under that mark. Because it was already approved, we can go ahead and move forward with the invoice. I assume no objections to that already. And the only question that we had was, is it just invoice general town of Lisbon, or is there certain like
I've
public safety?
to- I'll
accounting?
talk to
You did talk to her?
Lisa about.
Perfect, then I will cross that off my list of questions. And only other question I have before I step down is, do you want me to hang out for number 13, or do you want me to? Do not need it.
For number which?
13, that's the closed
No.
session.
You don't need. to.
Sounds good. If you need anything else, you have our contact information.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we clarify, is it operational for 2023 or operational?
I guess my motion had been for the 2023.
Just so, I guess, so we know.
So we're not gonna, chance of getting them up in the next few months, is it likely?
I think if you approved it
Mhm.
for funds out of 2022 operational, you would see a month before. If you did 2023 operational expense,
Mhm.
and you wait till January to schedule it, you might not see it.
I mean, could we get it? That's where past the agenda item here, but
We can recheck that and see if you do approve active 1/1/23, they can do a trial period, active the student is installed.
I'd be good with that. I guess my mine is for more payment of it in 2023.
Mhm.
I know we approved the concept, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Actually, are we paying for it in 2022 or paying for it?
Mine was paying for it in 2023. I guess that's. what my
That's what
motion
this
was.
says.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When we reach out, we'll clarify that if you still effective 1/1/2023 for next year. If you will get a quicker install, if you can do trial or something before that.
Okay.
No, so the intent of the motion was paying for it in 2023. Was that the second's intent?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
Is
'cause
that
that's
the
what it
board's
says under, yes.
understanding was
Yep.
paying for it in 2023?
Yep.
Not necessarily determine when they're up, but it was paying for it in
Yes.
2023?
Yes.
Okay,
Do we
so it
need to,
wasn't a term, just to be clear, the board is in agreement. It was not a term. It was just the paying for it of the 2023 budget.
do we have to put in there that it's a trial basis or no?
We just paid 1 year.
Okay.
Okay,
All right. Thank you.
excellent. Item C, discussion necessary action regarding operation. What kind of license?
Operators license.
Operator's license, thank you. Application for Jonathan Schubert.
So we discussed this at the last meeting, but we were still awaiting a recommendation from Captain Panis, which I did receive on August 29th, and you should all have in your packets. And it states that after reviewing the statutes, the application and DOJ criminal history, I do not find any cause based upon state statutes to deny issuance of the operator's license. I did receive a phone call from Mr. Schubert stating that he is no longer employed in the town of Lisbon. But I have not heard from him since then.
So
And
he doesn't need it anymore?
but he still applied.
Have a license in Lisbon, but he doesn't have an employer yet in Lisbon. So he
So
could
he's
find an
going-
employer.
So the operator's license is not necessarily for a place, it's just an
It's
operator.
for a person, not
Or
a
a
place.
person.
Guess I didn't realize that over all these years.
So they can take that license and go anywhere in Lisbon.
Well, how's everybody feel about that?
I don't think legally we can deny, and if it's still got an active application,
Mhm.
and we don't have any reason to delay, approval.
Don't we ask on the application about where he's gonna be working?
Mhm.
I mean, it's on there.
But it's not required, but
Okay.
they don't need to have a place of employment. They could go to every municipality and just apply. And then find a job in that municipality. And they can say, oh, I have a operator's license for Lisbon already, so they don't have to wait. They can start.
Did not realize that's how that works.
Our
Learn something
our
new.
attorney also cautioned us if we were gonna deny it, you would want him here to go through the proper channels, but since the sheriff already said, our captain already stated that there was no reason. we should-
I see no reason to deny him at this point. I was just curious about
Yeah.
more of the process. I think.
If we can operate well, if you're under the inspection of it.
Of another
Right.
one.
Direct supervision.
I'll move to approve the operator's license for Jonathan Schubert. Is there a second? Second by Becky. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, motion carries 5-0. New business A, discussion necessary action regarding a request by Barry Sherman for extension of non-compliance order dated 8/19/2022 for property located at North 95 West 24141 Highway Q, LSPT 0153.995.002.
In your packet, you have a request for consideration. I was contacted by Mr. Sherman, asking how he would request an extension, and to which I replied that it did need to be made in writing and to the town board, which you have in your packet, along with the original non-compliance letter that was written for that property. And Mr. Sherman is here in the audience as well.
Questions from the board?
I have a question for the property owner. Anyway, you just have a phone. So your plan is to use a contractor for the work?
Right now, I actually received another quote, which fortunately was about half of the quote that I gave you, because that's incredibly crazy to me. But, depending on the situation, there are people moving out in the process. If they were to move out today, I would probably do it myself. And with all the codes and everything, but as it stands, I am not going to do that. So I have to bring in a contractor while they still are in the residence.
With this new contract, I don't want to interfere.
I can-
With this new contractor, because the original one says February 1st to February 28th, not to do something.
Well, that's been all contracts. Any ones I've been trying to get a hold of are pushing me out. That's why I didn't have a specific date on the extension. That just happened to be the one. I think I had noted about 5 different that I've tried. one in my hand. I can submit this to you folks, but I have to be honest, I don't know a time frame for it because they're all booked up, and when it comes to supplies and materials,
Yeah,
I just can't answer that.
I
So
understand.
that's thus why I'm looking for the extension.
Okay.
Well, if there's no, like, if you don't have any renters, you could remove those stairs and essentially that
If
takes
the-
care of this.
If the
Right.
people were not in the residence, I could remove the stairs, correct? That's another ongoing situation that I'm not gonna discuss at this point. But that is in the works. I mean, that is more than.
Well, I think it's obvious he's tried,
Yeah,
I mean. And I think that we should just. Give him the next, I would say, I would give him a 6-month extension, then that would. Cover even if none of these other people could do it, the people from. Hunterland to do it in February. So I would give them till, what, the end of March, the end of February? When do they close it? February 1st to the 28th, so. I would give them 6 months, how much, where's that? Put it?
We could do it to a date certain.
Huh?
You could say like till March 1st,
Right,
2023.
mhm.
Or you could just make that, I make a motion to
okay,
grant the extension until March 1st, 2023 for compliance with ordinances requested by non-compliance letter dated 8/19/2022.
all right, that's the motion.
Is there a second
I second.
discussion?
I guess my only concern is we're not talking about rubbish in somebody's yard, we're talking about potential fire. Or something.
Yeah, but if you can't find anybody to fix it.
The stairs are being utilized.
They're still using.
They're currently utilized. The treads have all been replaced. It's the non-compliance because the original stairs are not, the steps are different. They've also been there for as long as that's been there.
So is this thing structurally good?
Structurally, we have tried to do our best to replace any of the broken steps that are in there, treads. Again, I didn't want to change the heights because those have been the existing heights since before I owned the place, so I'm not gonna change it, start having one at 8 inches and one at 9. Right now they are. One's at 6 off the ground and one's at 8, but we replaced the actual treads on the top, which was a concern. Falling through the treads.
Isn't it also the structure though? It's not properly,
The structure was also built up as well. And
like
reinforced.
scabbed in.
Oh, absolutely. It has been for years. I mean, yeah, the original has been. It needs to be replaced. I'm not going to at some point. But there's a catch-22 in getting it replaced.
Right, I understand, but he asked if it was
Right.
structurally sound, and that was the question is the fact of, the fact that the movers aren't willing to use those steps to move them out of the house it makes me think they're not structurally sound.
And this isn't the only way out of the house, I'm assuming.
No, the front door. Which is where the heavy items would go out anyway. But no, it's used on a daily basis.
When I look at Brian's letter here, he just says that it's not it's a non-compliance issue. It doesn't say it's a safety issue though. Unless I'm missing it.
Well, we've got multiple.
Oh, there's a couple of things here, but
So what about as far as the fact that it's not correct zoning for the multifamily?
That's a different discussion. That is, some of that's going through, I believe, October 7th meeting.
6.
Mr.
Six.
Chairman, he does have a planning meeting set up for October 6th.
Yeah,
Okay.
right. The other items are being addressed as well. This is the first. or no, first, One of them.
to go around.
The other,
A few.
Mhm.
I know you have a motion on the floor. I just want to mention that if you remember, we had a homeowner that was having trouble getting a contract for her roof. And you gave her so much time to come back with a signed contract, and then you would give her that date. She actually ended up getting the roof fixed and before she needed to come, but replaced. But that's another option for you, is to have them come back with a contract within so much time. Or, you know, whatever you want for. I just wanted to give you another option.
Or if someone knows a contractor, be interested.
I've heard it is slowing down out there.
They're just busy. Everyone's
It's
real
hard.
busy right now. And
It is.
again, I would do it myself. If the house, if it ends up vacant tomorrow, I will be
It-
performing it for this. This one's now over $6,200, but I'm like,
Is
This is
it's
great.
just for the steps.
this is just, I'm looking for a 4x4 platform off the back. Because you step down when you step out, which to me you shouldn't, you always want to go level. So I'm putting a 4x4 platform and then just normal stairs to the grade coming off of that,
To the grid?
grade
Great,
to
oh,
ground level.
okay.
So it's how tall are the steps? Is that,
It's, I believe, 7 or 8 steps, which we put it approximately about 5 feet.
so you have an understanding, it's not just a two-step to a porch, you know?
And how many steps are there gonna be about?
I believe 7 or 8.
So it's a 4x4 platform with about 7 to 8 steps
Correct,
to grade.
correct. And then railings.
Sure.
Years.
So I guess the thing is, do we want to? Kathy is,
We have a motion on the table
right.
and I second it.
You have a
I mean, if
motion
you're
and
comfortable with the motion, we can call for a vote. Otherwise, like Kathy said, we could amend the motion to change it where you have to come back with a signed contract. I guess I just want it fixed. I don't know that I.
Yeah,
I was just giving you a different option.
yeah, I think we should, I would so just leave the motion.
What was the date that you had?
March 1st.
Well, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0.
Appreciate it, thank you. If it's till March, I'm in trouble, I do know.
Can I refer him to someone that I know, someone that does stuff, or I can't on the board?
You guys can have any private discussion you would like outside of this room.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, just make one quick comment. The order is maybe discussing in the office. We have to share this back to this field on, I would feel as well. or
I would think it,
potentially
but,
could be as well as 164
Mhm,
thing. But thank you.
Thanks.
Mhm. I agree with him.
It only flows one way.
Huh?
It only really captures
Oh.
one way.
Item B, discussion necessary action regarding fire station number 1 holding tank replacement and repair.
Yeah.
Hello, all right, so we talked about this last time, this is for the shop drain
Mhm.
that are within the fire station number 1. For basically runoff, washing vehicles, stuff like that in the shop, but. What was, came to light this past winter was a clog. And then after it was jetted out, their jet got stuck and we realized it was just getting drained out into a French drain basically, so. To do this correctly, we should wall it pour up. We can still get this done this year. I verified that. We should put a holding tank in the ground, same setup we did with the highway shop. Where all our shop drains go in a holding tank. That holding tank gets pumped out maybe a half a dozen at most times a year at $130. So very minimal when you add it up over a year and you're doing it right. The way it's getting done now, I would just say it's not right. So we reached out to Litzau is who did our side. This price is better than what we actually paid to have ours done, but the pipe length is shorter, so that would be why. Litzau works with the county well. They do a lot of work in the town here. They are located in the town here and it's kind of why we just focus working with them, because what he just said too is contractors are busy, and I confirmed with Blitzall this can get done still this year before the tree. So, and Joe and I talked a little that they understand the situation here. They're aware of what we're gonna do. They'll work with the county for us, and it's just less hurdles we'll have to deal with if we work with them.
So I have, I just, in order to go between, when we're spending something between, for a service between 5,000 and 24,000, we have to do a first class notice. So then anybody can put in a bid that wants to. So I would suggest if you're going to move forward on this, that we put out a bid. We put out notice and properly follow the statute. So put out a first class notice, get bids in, and I'm guessing this one's gonna come in as that.
And last time we did that with the painting, nothing happened. Nobody put a bid in.
Right.
It's the legal thing to do,
Just a
and
legal thing
I
to do.
think most people are busy. They're not, they won't even, we're doing the right thing, and I don't think anybody would even bid on it outside of them, but you're right.
Is that for any
And-
and all services, even like flock cameras?
So there are exclusions,
There's, yes, you can do a
emergencies.
single source.
Single source. Fines.
Or flock
Right.
cameras, single source?
Yes, they would be a single source.
I'm just saying. I think
Yeah.
they need to raise that number by about triple.
Yeah.
I agree.
Well, it's not fitting, it's just quotes, just
Yeah.
to get you quotes.
Yeah.
So
And how long will it take again, once you note it, once you post it and?
this is another thing.
7 days, right?
First class is just a week.
Does Litso know that you have to do this?
No,
No, but I mean,
Yeah,
if we
He's
get the
busy
job to
then,
him, he's gonna thank us. If he doesn't, he's gonna say, no big deal, we're busier than, you know what,
Yeah.
right now, like
Yeah.
every other guy out there.
okay,
Nobody cares right now with work if they don't get it. That's what I'm seeing. The guy don't get a job, they just move on to the next one. So
yeah.
It's nuts. For now. But that will change.
So why do we have to have two different collection sites? Like,
Oh, just cause asphalt is already done in our parking. I mean, ideally, this is, I guess, something we could have tackled initially, but you would have talked 200, 250 feet of pipe you would have to run to get it from the fire station to where our tank is. So to be honest, by the time you would have added all the cost of that pipe up, you're probably better running 40 feet and putting a tank on their side.
and if you think about it, our discussions with the sanitary district, it's like you can only get people to blast out about 100 feet at a time.
Yeah,
So if it was a 200 foot, it might be hard to blast that out into another tank.
exactly. Now, and I'm sorry, did you discuss this, that if we have them both cleaned out, we get hit for 2 charges, though, to have them cleaned out, correct?
More than likely, because you're gonna be at a gallon. There's an alarm on it. It'll go off at 3,000. The tank's 4,000. The truck can only haul 4,000, so they would have to come twice. If you caught it where, hey, they're both at 2,000 maybe, but we're not doing that. We're waiting till the alarm goes off, gives
Yeah.
us a buffer before it would be full.
And it doesn't matter because of 2,000 or 4,000.
Yeah.
You're still
Just a
using.
trip charge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all you're saving.
And another thing, going back to Mark, running all that pipe would have been under the parking lot. So
Oh.
let's say there's an issue, right?
Yeah.
We have a 4-year-old parking lot that looks beautiful because it just got resealed, and you're tearing that up, where this is gonna be all in the soft surface, where if there is an issue, it'd be an easy fix.
Yeah. You're right.
So you could do a motion to approve an amount of up to, or no more than $16,280. And then we'll do the first class bid, and as long as this is everybody doesn't come in over that, we're all set to go. But if we have under that, we can still go under that 16,000. 280, but his bid is 16,280. We know we've got a vendor at that. If you approve that, no more than, doesn't have to be for this specific company, just that you're approving a holding tank for the Good Hope Fire Station in the amount not to exceed $16,280.
So moved.
I so second.
Discussion.
Discussion, we're gonna have electrical costs, we're gonna have restoration costs. I don't think if we cap it at 16,280, we're gonna be completing the project.
Restoration we can handle, so that would be in-house and relatively inexpensive, but, yeah,
Is
there
that
will be a
so-
little
so-
electrical. They set the alarm and all that. I just gotta tie it in the building, so.
But don't you have the budget that you can work from that on your own? You don't have to include that in this, correct?
Yeah, but it's.
Maintenance budgets, fire station.
guess I was
maintenance
doing that
budget.
wrong.
Yeah, I mean, it all depends on what we're using and what garage we're
I do
breaking
already
10
own
days
it.
from now, you know what I mean? I mean, there's money, but
Not
we all,
included.
yeah, there's just, you could put a buffer, you know.
Litzau's
We
not gonna
wouldn't-
put the electrical in anyway, is he?
No, but they ran the pipe and laid everything in for us, and I just said they kind of tie the ends up since they
And
had
I'm sure
everything
that
open.
the extra, the electrical and stuff isn't gonna be 5,000, so. it'll
No.
be Taken care of by any bid.
I mean, if you put an extra $2,000 on there, that cover PVC, pipe, wire, the alarm, you know, the end on my end, they'll have the alarm part, but. He gave it to me last time. I just had to plug it in and tie the two wires. It was a direct burial wire, real simple. I mean, 2000 is extreme. I'm just throwing a number out there and we wouldn't. Go over that, obviously. If you wanted to.
And this covers the tank.
Yeah.
You said you can cover the other end.
Yeah, by operation.
I can, we have building maintenance on highway. I know I still have money if they don't have some to just cover some wire and. A few hours of our time.
Everybody all right with that? If you want to ask for an amendment to the motion.
To the motion. I mean, I'm satisfied with what you said.
Okay.
I don't want to say about it.
Mhm. Good idea.
This would be out of ARPA funds. That's,
Okay.
my motion would include the facts coming out of ARPA funds. Is the second okay with that?
Yes.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Okay.
Item C, discussion necessary action regarding possible purchase of tax deeded property LSBT 0178.992 from Waukesha County for $249.85.
So we have this property, we got notice from the county sheriff, the county treasurer, that the county took this parcel of land in the wetlands on tax deed. And so I'm bringing it to you to make a decision if you would like to purchase it for $250,000.
So we can't. Electorate has to purchase land.
Yep, we'd have to bring it to a meeting.
At that meeting
a
of the
town
electorate.
meeting.
As low as this money, top amount is.
But even so, with
What
that
would-
being said, it's completely buried in a wetland. And it's landlocked, and we can't buy it to flip it and make money off of it. That's not allowed.
Who owns the land around it?
The county owns a portion, and then it's private owners on the other on the other sides.
Well, I'm surprised they don't, go with the private owners.
Well, we get first kick.
Right.
Yeah.
So if we don't do anything, then it'll go to auction, and then it'll be high bid. Anything over $250. We'll take it on.
I mean, is there any benefit really? I mean, the
No.
only benefit is if we purchased it and somebody else wanted to buy it.
Right, and we
could make
can't,
money on it.
yeah, we can't really do that. Our attorney made it very clear, make sure they understand they can't flip it. So, we'd have, essentially, the county will probably end up with it. So it's gonna be non-taxable, no matter if we kept it or they kept it, or they keep it. The only difference is it would run under our rules instead of the county rules, that's it, hunting and things like that.
You can hunt on it?
I don't know, I haven't been out on the land to
Oh.
see what it's like, but it's totally in a wetland, so.
And
And
there's
it's
no
covered by
access either.
wetland in the
If we
county,
purchase it, could we sell it for the same dollar amount to one of the local landowners?
you could,
Then it becomes taxable.
and it would become taxable, but I would think that the neighbor that it was on would have been the 200.
We make our money back in make our money back and double it in 2 years.
Your $3 and so much.
I have no desire to do this as anyone
Okay,
else.
just wanted to make sure I brought it to.
No.
you. So, all right, I'll let the treasurer know.
No,
Item D, discussion necessary action regarding ordinance 2022-11, amending the nuisance code.
Oh,
Right,
boy.
so this was this is the first draft of the, oh my goodness, this isn't the. So I did have all the whereases properly done. I must have sent you the wrong one. I made changes to the nuisance definitions on 3.02. This is the first draft of it. I'd have to bring it back in final form. I did put it in final form, but I did not send you the correct one in final form, so. But the changes would stay the same. So if you had any questions on any of the changes or any concerns, then.
has the attorney looked at this?
Yes, I went through it with the attorney. No, so, so were there anything that we crossed out or placed in? Let me see the final.
Anybody?
So on number 3, the 2.02, I'm sorry, 5.02. A sub 3, that there, I actually removed that.
Say that
Um,
again.
So it's 5.02.
Mhm.
Sub A, sub 3, so general 3. I placed the word there in there, their property, but we removed it after further discussion.
Okay.
So we removed that. So and that's on the final, and that was on here too. That was all cleaned up on the clean version. That you have the version that doesn't have the yellow like this.
Yeah, we got, well, the yellow here and
Wanna-
blue.
Can you make copies of that? Okay. I apologize. I thought I had printed out those versions for the packet. So this was the first draft that I brought to the attorney, and then we went through it and kind of cleaned it up, and then and that's what she's going to do.
Gonna need some time probably to look over that one.
Yeah, can we wait till next
You want-
month?
We can wait till next time.
Let's
Yeah.
wait till next time.
Or you want to let
A
people
question,
know?
a question on the 5.03,
Yep.
was section 8 already enacted?
Yes. Section 8 is already, if you've been brought into compliance, and then an issue comes in, we don't give them another 30 days, it goes directly for citation. So
I'm
it's to
sorry.
stop people from moving their cars off their property, becoming in compliance, and then moving them right back.
Let me clarify. I see there's blue text, but then there's blue line over it. Middle of the large portion of page 6.
Yeah, they're all out.
Of all the,
It's, yeah. it's on the-
the part that was in our code is what I crossed out. And we tried to work within what was approved by our policy. So we had something in this code that didn't follow the policy. And so it made sense to use the policy that you approved in April of 21. And then we made the change, we added the, if it's a, if it is a, in an emergent situation that you can't give it a 30-day that it's, and you don't see that on, because it's on the one that,
I think I had to, under eight, and then.
which one are you looking at? H, what?
Page
C,
6?
D, D,
503, so.
right, page 6, number
part of
8. Which part of it?
The one that's
from?
about any staff deviations procedure, they might be better suited as ordinance.
Yeah, what part of that? What part is that?
It's right under, so, so you have 8, and then it's if the property, and then the next paragraph says any staff
Right.
deviation.
Is that like 9,
No, that's,
part of 8?
that's just the whole, this, as a
Oh.
whole, it's not
Okay,
any part of this
okay.
ordinance.
I like to read this over more.
Let's get you the, final version. I thought that was
Yeah,
put in the-
okay.
You want to let Elisa know that we're gonna put this through, for the next meeting, and push this to the next meeting. Sorry.
Item 13 is post.
So is someone.
Yeah.
There's no action on it. Or do you want to table action?
We can just do no action.
Mhm.
Item 13, then closed sessions pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 19.5 parent E for the purpose of deliberating or negotiating the purchase of public properties, investing in public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, more specifically regarding the 2023 WCSD patrol contract and updated offer to purchase from Forester for parcel located within the Business Park East. Is there a motion to go into closed session?
I make a motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second. Go ahead,
Paul, a
Becky.
second.
Okay.
Roll call vote.
Chairman Osterman,
Aye.
Supervisor Moonen,
Aye.
Supervisor Beal,
Aye.
Supervisor Quinn,
Aye.
Supervisor Plotecker.
In closed session at 7:54.
Sorry, guys.
Just a moment to pause the recording.
You
Are
open
these
the
guys
door,
out there
Paula?
waiting?
What's that?
You mind opening the door?
Oh, sure.
Thank you.
All right. Came out of closed session at 8:30. There's no action out of closed session. Item 15 is adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I will.
Motion made by Linda, second by Mark. No discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We are out at 8:31.